Alright, so this is just to prove to you that I'm not lying about this game that I found. I'm just gonna walk you through everything that I've seen so far, and obviously it'll be exactly as I described it, because this is it.
In 1996, a man built a video game. Not to sell, not to release, not for anyone to ever play. He built it for one specific person, to trap them inside their own crimes forever. 20 years later, the wrong person found it, tried to figure out what it was, got surveilled by it, got copied by it, got a digital version of his mind imprisoned in it, without ever being asked. Which honestly, is the game working exactly as intended, just on the wrong guy.
And, the first level is over here. I'm just gonna keep going a bit here so you can see that the game is apparently unfinished because there's nothing over here.
This is Petscop, and before you get comfortable, so are
I'm
we.
gonna show you the one and only level. This actually is not the interesting part, but I'm just gonna show you, I'm gonna walk you through all of this so you can see that this is exactly what I described.
Right, quick housekeeping before we get into it, because some of you have seen 0 seconds of Petscop, and some of you have watched all of it 3 times, and both groups need to be roughly in the same place before we start. Petscop is a YouTube series by a man named Tony Domenico, 24 videos, March 2017 to September 2019, presented as a completely earnest let's play of a real PlayStation 1 game called Petscop, made by a real company called Garalina. Neither of those things is real. Tony stayed anonymous the entire 30-month run and only revealed himself on Twitter after the finale, at which point he changed the channel's description emoticon from a colon parenthesis to a semicolon parenthesis as proof of ownership, which is the most devastatingly low-key way anyone has ever done a dramatic reveal. There has been a significant amount of coverage of Petscop already. Game Theory did a video that got 13 million views, which is an insane amount, more views than the actual series, arguing it was about a real child abuse case. Pyrocynical did a 16 million view episode by episode breakdown in 2017 that his fanbase spent the next 6 years demanding a sequel to, generating memes, fan art, an actual change.org petition, the full circus.
My Petscop video is a year old today. I'm planning a sequel, but no, and that was 2018.
I actually asked him when I met him in 2019 as well, where's Petscop 2 Pyro? And Expo did a multi-part documentary series on it that is, I'll say genuinely without sarcasm, excellent work. And Wendigoon also did an episode, so it feels like everyone's done something. And every single one of those videos is asking the same question. What does Petscop mean? What happened to the windmill? Who is Lena? Is the AI real? These are fine questions, they're interesting. But they're the wrong ones. Because the most interesting question, the one that nobody seems to follow all the way through, is why does Petscop make you feel like you're standing in someone else's house at 3 AM reading letters that were never addressed to you, and you've just noticed the front door is locked? That feeling, that specific, particular feeling of trespass, it's consistent across the entire series, it doesn't waver, and it's not accidental. It was designed, decision by decision, across 30 months and 24 videos, by a person who was extremely intentional about the tools he was using. So that's what this is. We're going all the way through, every episode, every major beat, everything that matters, and the analysis is going to grow out of the game rather than getting bolted on after. By the end, you'll understand Petscop differently, not more completely. That's actually not really possible, and we'll get to why that's the point, but differently. From the beginning. 12th of March 2017, a 9-minute video appears on YouTube. Description: the game I found. A man named Paul is filming himself playing a PS1 game to prove to someone, a friend from context, that the game exists. The friend apparently doesn't believe him. Paul's response to being doubted is to set up a recording device and document everything, which is extremely the right call and also something of a foreshadowing of how the next 2.5 years are going to go for him. The game boots with an authentic PS1 startup sequence, the grey loading screen, the boot sound, and then a logo for Garalina, a game development company that has never existed anywhere except in this series. From there, the gift plane, which is, and I want to be precise here, the most relentlessly cheerful PS1 environment I have ever personally witnessed. Bright pinks, bubbly greens, upbeat chiptune that sounds like it was composed by someone who was told to write happy and took it as a direct challenge. You play as a small creature, officially unnamed at this stage, with enormous feet, completely hollow eyes, a triangular mouth, and 0 hands. No hands. Anatomically unequipped for doors. Your job, according to a sign near the entrance, is to catch pets and give them a good home. Because the gift plane has 48 remaining pets and all the staff have apparently left. Only 8 homes exist, 7 of those homes are just absent, not locked, not even blocked, not under construction, simply not there. The way council estate maintenance is simply not there, that is to say, absent without explanation and with no projected return date. Paul explores the one house that does exist. He catches Amber, a bull who lives in a cage, has a trophy outside for not having left it once, and whose item description notes she's afraid to leave home and asks what's the safest place you can put her. Paul can only catch her by glitching through the wall and ambushing her because she absolutely will not come out on her own. Fair enough. He catches Randus the flower via a straightforward bucket and rain puzzle. He catches a few others, and then there's Roneth. Roneth is some kind of bird-flower hybrid, a combination of Toneth the bird and Randus the flower, hence the name, who flies away every single time Paul gets close. Paul cannot catch Roneth, he gives up. He goes to the pause menu to check the pet compendium. There's a message on the right side. We hope you're enjoying the game. There's also conspicuously a book of baby names listed as an option in the pause menu. Paul checks it, it does nothing. He notes it, files it away and moves on. Then he pulls out a note that came with the game in the box. Short. The first line in all capitals. I walked downstairs and when I got to the bottom, instead of proceeding, I turned to the right and became a shadow monster man. Dated June 13th, 1997. Below that, addressed to you, please go to my website on the sticker, and also go to Ronif's room and press start, and press down, 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 right, start. Paul inputs the code in Ronif's room, and the music stops.
So what is it? Down, 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 right, start. Alright? So you can see that it accepted it, and the music stopped. I'm just gonna go out this way here.
It doesn't fade out, it doesn't really transition, it just stops, clean and immediate, like someone pulled the plug. The gift plane is still there visually, the colors, the layout, but it's completely dead. No sound, no ambient hum, no cheerful chiptune, just Paul's footsteps. He walks outside and instead of the colourful surrounding area, there's the New Maker plane. An infinite dark field of grass stretching in every direction, black sky, no landmarks whatsoever. And following him wherever he goes, a spotlight, which he cannot escape. He wanders for over an hour, finds absolutely nothing, then almost by accident stumbles across a cellar door set into the grass. He pokes at it, can't open it, goes back inside.
Hey, so I was talking about how I couldn't find anything out here. Well, I just found this. And last time I came out here, I was walking around in this space here for over an hour, and this time I find this in less than 15 minutes. So this is just luck that I happen to find this. I think if I were to restart my console right now, I would not be able to find this again. Probably, because I don't remember what I did. You know, all the directions that I went. So I'm kind of scared to, you know, I want to keep the console on until I figure this out. The situation is that I cannot open this door. I probably can open the door, but I don't know what to do. So I thought I would just slip this in at the end.
Episode over. 2 things before we move on. First, Rainer, and we'll get to who Rainer is. We'll get there, I promise. Let's just take a bit. He's the guy who made the game, but he didn't have to build the gift plane. He could have put Paul directly into the dark. He chose to put a bright, cheerful, visibly unfinished children's game in front of the horror because the horror requires the contrast to function. You need to have been in the gift plane to understand what its absence feels like. The brighter the surface, the more wrong the silence that follows. This is a craft decision. Someone made that choice deliberately. Second, the cellar door at the end of episode 1 opened on its own while Paul was in another room. He checked his recording, he confirmed he didn't do anything, the game opened it. The game is already doing things without him. Petscop 2. Paul goes through the door. And it is immediately, obviously different. The underground is a brick labyrinth, dimly lit corridors, worn carpet, tiled pathways that drop off into nothing at the edges. Scattered on the floor, small collectible gem-like pieces, same type as the ones from the gift plane, which establishes that however alien this place looks, it is mechanically still the same game. These pieces will matter a great deal later. Paul collects them without knowing why. He hears a phone ringing and he follows it to what appears to be an office, a room with a pinboard and some furniture, and walks up to the phone. The game displays a message in yellow text. Care left the room. That's all. No context, no explanation, no name for who Care is, just the notification in yellow, filed in the HUD the same way a door would be described as opened. Care left the room. Paul looks at it for a moment and he just keeps on going. On the pinboard, 3 photographs of a girl in 3 different states, labeled A, B, and NLM. A, content, normal, apparently fine. B, disheveled, distressed, something clearly wrong. NLM, head in her hands, crying, completely distraught. 3 versions of the same person at different points of something that isn't described but can be assumed as emotional turmoil. Paul notes the color, notes the images, and moves on. He continues down a long corridor and finds 3 portraits hanging on the wall. A green house, a 3-story brick school building which makes an ominously deep sound when Paul examines it, a specific sound that will reoccur throughout the series, and which is a remarkable choice for what is ostensibly a portrait of architecture, and a windmill. 3 locations introduced quietly, no fanfare yet all of them are significant. Then a yard, a shed, and next to the shed, a grave. Michael Hammond, born 1988, died 1995, age 7. The only text besides the dates, Mike was a gift. His name is in bright pink on the stone. Paul examines it and says, with the measured observation of a man who has found a lot of strange things in the last 20 minutes and is carefully rationing his alarm.
That's a dead kid.
Correct. It is. The shed. Paul enters through the open door and finds a giant daisy he can interact with. Each interaction plucks a petal. As the petals come off, the screen alternates between normal and a stressed red. They love me not. With each bad pull, the screen goes red. Paul plucks most of the petals, stops, goes to check on the room below, where the NLM figure has appeared on a raised platform, crying apparently, in the state that corresponds to the final bad petal, and then comes back and finishes the daisy. The last petal is the bad one, they love me not. And in the room below, the NLM figure becomes something horrible. Glitching, twitching, static, surrounded by red light. Paul cannot interact with her, she just sits there wrong, and the room stays red. Beyond the shed, however, through a back passage Paul finds almost by accident, a long room covered floor to ceiling in crayon drawings of the same red shape. A large red object at the end of it. Paul approaches, a text box appears. He can type questions. Almost everything he asks gets, I don't know, but it responds. It has something resembling awareness. It eventually identifies itself Tool. This is Tool. Behind Tool, mounted on the wall, a screen displaying a windmill, spinning. Paul stands at the back of the room to get a look at it, and the ominous sound from the school portrait plays again. Deeper still, the quitter's room. Paul walks in from the right side and immediately notices the room is mirrored. The words quitters written on the floor reads backwards, meaning he's on the wrong side. On the other side of the mirror, a figure, same general body shape as Paul's character, but with a crudely drawn smiley face for a head, a child's drawing, slightly off. It mirrors Paul exactly. Every step he takes, it takes. Every turn, it turns. They walk in perfect, unnerving synchronization through the room. While Paul is behind a bookshelf, a jingle plays. When he and the figure emerge from behind it, the figure is briefly delayed, not quite synced before correcting itself. It doesn't seem to be just a mirror, it's something that wants to appear to be a mirror. On the back wall in purple crayon, written backwards, "Do you remember being born?" The episode ends with Paul on the surface, standing still. He's already said the thing that matters. When you come home next month, and hopefully you're feeling a little more enthusiastic about that now, we can investigate this together, and maybe you'll find stuff that I can't find here. He is not making these videos for YouTube. He is making them for one specific person, someone who is apparently coming home next month. Someone who apparently needs some encouragement about that. You should probably keep that. Petscop 3. Paul goes the other direction and finds "good grief and alas" in enormous grey letters across an entire wall, floor to ceiling. This is a quote from Daisy Head Maisie, the Dr. Seuss story in which a little girl grows a daisy out of her head and is rejected by her entire school, her town, her family. She cries repeatedly, "Nobody loves me, nobody loves me."
Nobody loves me.
At the end of the story, she plucks the petals of the daisy growing from her head. They love me not. They love me not. They love me. You get the fucking point. And she ends on "they love me." She goes home and everything is fine, and the story in the end is a happy one. Paul plucked Care's daisy and it ended on "they love me not." Care, NLM, nobody loves me, is still in a red room downstairs. Not a coincidence. Yeah, if you haven't picked up the AB NLM, it's Care because she's missing, but we'll get into that later. Thumbs up. He now finds the child library, a brick building with a deposit box outside and an easel inside. Paul approaches the easel, and a face-building interface appears, which, is not the most usual thing. He can input eyes, a nose, eyebrows. There's a spacing between the features. He enters a face and the building around him begins to shake, things flying past the doorway, the building apparently rotating around something. And after roughly 10 minutes, a new room is accessible through a door. A bedroom, someone's bedroom, generated from the face Paul entered. The floor pattern, the wall color, the items on the bedside table, all of it corresponds to whoever the face belongs to. It is a tremendously strange mechanic, but it is also immediately, recognizably wrong. It's like fucking House of Leaves. Paul tries a few random faces, gets anonymous rooms. Then he tries Mike's face, the one from the grave. Mike is not inside right now. He is dead. You may visit his room. Paul enters Mike's room. No child on the bed. He is dead, as noted. The floor pattern has what appears to be roads and gift boxes. On the bedside table, the same red shape as tool, and what looks like a pair of pliers, or possibly tweezers. The detail matters, and we'll come back to it probably much later. This video is going to go for a while. He tries the face from above the cellar door, the one that led him to the NLM figure. Care is missing. You may visit her room. Care. Yellow text, same color as the notification from episode 2. Paul enters Care's room. No child again. She's missing as noted, at least she's not dead. The floor has daisy and petal motifs. The bedside table has the red tool shape and a box of crayons, and on the back wall, a note. This is the moment Petscop kind of hints at what's going on. Your wife says Care isn't growing eyebrows. You say that's a puzzle. You're secretly very excited to hear this news. You're in the bathtub thinking about her. I have a guess at which child you'll pick next. When you find her room, the passage to my right will lead to her. She'll appear from the darkness, limping, and I'll shoot her in the head. Tiara says young people can be psychologically damaged beyond rebirthing. A young person walks into your school. They walk in with you. You're holding their hands. They come out crying into their hands because nobody will love them. Not ever again. Nobody loves me. They wander, then you make a plane. Paul says,
I'm not sure what to say about that.
Certainly a sane response. The color coding in this note is doing work. Care's text is yellow. The U the note addresses is green, and his wife speaks in blue. A new color, purple-pink, belongs to someone called Tiara, someone who mentions rebirthing, who says children can be damaged beyond it. The note was not written for any player, it was written for a specific person to describe their own thoughts and behavior back to them. Paul clocks it.
It's possible. This game was made for, this part of the game was made for somebody to see.
He's right, he just doesn't know what that means for him yet, because, as we'll find out later on, color means quite a bit in this, so just keep a memorandum of the different colors if you can. I'll probably come back to it. Paul also tries Care's face with eyebrows, Mike's eyebrows specifically, which he has no real reason to try, but does so anyway, and gets a room with a censored item on the bedside table. He's so unnerved by whatever's behind the sensor that he starts questioning whether he generated the room on purpose.
I could have put other eyebrows on her, but I didn't. I put Mike's on her. I can't tell if it recognized it or not.
He's trying to explain it away as coincidence, even while he's looking at a room that clearly knows something. And this brings us to the end of episode 3. Then, at
end of episode 7,
the first sensor notice from whoever is running the channel. We've had to cover something with a black box. Right now, we can't say why. Some other things we're expecting to censor in the future. A big present with a sticker on it, something on a wall in a black house, written on a chalkboard. Whoever runs this channel now knows what Paul is going to find before he finds it, and they are managing what we see. Now, before we continue, we need to do this right now. Game Theory built their entire video around it, and I want to give it the correct weight, and then we're moving on. because treating it as the core answer to what Petscop is represents a genuine misleading of the series. In April 2000, a 10-year-old girl named Candace Tiara Newmaker died during an attachment therapy session in Colorado. Her adoptive parents said she was out of control. They enrolled her with 2 therapists, Connell Watkins and Julie Ponder, who practiced what they called rebirthing therapy. The session, Candace was wrapped in a flannel sheet covered with pillows and 4 adults pressed down on top of her, a combined weight of 673 pounds. She was told to fight her way out as if being born. For 70 minutes, she said she was dying and she couldn't breathe. She was giving up. One adult told her, "Go ahead, die right now, for real." Another called her a quitter, repeatedly. Her last word was no. She was 10 years old. They were convicted and sentenced to 16 years, but they were released early because of fucking course they were America's... The word Newmaker, the word tiara, and the word quitter. The concept of rebirthing. The school. Tony Domenico confirmed these references to Candace's case were intentional, but he later said he regretted including them. He also said directly and clearly that Petscop is not a retelling of Candace's story. The characters are not the people from her case. Petscop uses that vocabulary because the fictional villain at the center of the series operates on the same logic as the people who killed Candace. The belief that a person can be taken and remade into someone new. That this is a thing to do to a child. That's the connection. A shared framework of horror, not a biographical one. Game theory treated the Candace parallel as the answer, but it's a reference, a deliberate, loaded, pointed reference, sure, but a reference. We now know what it points to, and we'll be moving on. And so we move on to Petscop 4. Paul has been mapping. He's overlaid the underground layout against the above-ground Newmaker plane and worked out that the screen behind tool, which shows a windmill, is fed by a camera on the surface positioned directly above the tool room. He goes up, he walks to where the windmill should be, going off the map. There's a floating platform, and the windmill is simply not there. Not fallen, not damaged, not obviously removed, just absent, with a platform base that implies it stood there and therefore didn't just fail to be built. And in the distance, very briefly, something moves. A dark shape, gone before Paul can get anywhere near it.
Okay, that's it.
Petscop 5. Paul returns the tool with a list of questions. He works through them methodically. Most come back, I don't know. Tool is very committed to not providing that many answers, but he does provide some. Who is Tiara? Petscop kid very smart. This is not an answer to the question asked, it is an assessment of the asker. Paul is Petscop kid. Paul is apparently very smart. Who am I? Newmaker. The player character has a name. It is Newmaker. Where am I? Under the Newmaker plane. The Newmaker under the Newmaker plane, named after whoever Paul is in the game. Where is my house? You'll never go home. Which is a completely normal thing for a colourful PS1 pet-catching game to say. Where is the school? You can't go back in time. Also fine, perfectly normal. Great stuff. Then Tool turns pink. Just goes pink mid-conversation. A completely different colour from its usual red, and a different voice comes through it. Urgent. All capitals. Turn off PlayStation. Marvin picks up Tool, hurts me when PlayStation on. Then it turns red again. Like I said, colour means a great deal in Petscop, but we'll get to that later. Someone else is in the game. Someone who has been here long enough to know what Marvin does. Someone who is scared enough that their first instinct is to get Paul out before Marvin notices. Paul asks, "Remember being born?" and gets one more line before the connection drops. I'm not Tiara. The video description for episode 5 lists the questions Paul asked and includes a note. After the colour changed, we were able to ask 2 questions. Not I, we. Paul is not doing this alone. French, sorry. Someone else is present during these sessions, or has access to these recordings and is asking questions through Paul. Now we're on to Petscop 6. Paul's approach to horror game investigation: leave the PlayStation running and screen recording for 4 hours while he does something else, then review the footage. This is either the most boring possible method, or a stroke of genius. The results, however, suggest genius. At 2 hours and 39 minutes into the recording, a shadow figure appears near the windmill camera. Dark, featureless, roughly Paul's character's body shape, but with a differently proportioned head, longer and more pointed. It walks to the back of the windmill and reverses its direction of rotation, counterclockwise. Then it approaches the camera, which is the single eye in this part of the world, the only thing watching, and walks directly up to look into it. It repositions the camera, steps back, and then using children's letterbox, the same kind of plastic blocks you'd find in like a nursery, it spells out questions across the New Maker plane. Where is my house? The greenhouse from the underground portrait materializes on the New Maker plane. Where is the school? The brick school building materializes along with other items, a shovel, a rake, a lamp. Objects that correspond to rooms Paul has already been through underground, as if the New Maker plane is a surface version of what's beneath it. And Toneth, the bird from episode 1 that Paul couldn't catch, appears and stands there, present now, catchable. I will follow. And then an hour and 24 minutes later, the windmill disappears. Not gradually, it just instantly is gone. Paul reviews all of the footage and fast forward.
Going through a 4-hour video and noticing that on one half of the video, the windmill's going in one direction, and in the other half, it's going in the other direction.
And then goes to where Toneth has been standing it. He catches it.
Well, this is still here.
Finally, and reads the compendium entry. It starts as development notes. Painter, painting puzzle, cat friend is first. Had broken leg for some reason. I already hung him on a wall, too late to take it back. And then it just goes somewhere else. Made me think about the dog, actually, because when the car hit him, I thought, at least he'll be over soon. He survived it, and I was the only one who still wanted to put him down. A dog isn't innocent. When that dog wags its tail and appears happy, it's not real. I guess that's Toneth then. Then, the end. It's yucky outside. The person who wrote this game, whilst making notes about a pet in a children's puzzle game, started thinking about a dog that got hit by a car, and about wanting to end its suffering, and about whether happiness in an injured creature is real or just a physical reflex, and concluded that it wasn't real, and this is what Toneth represents, and then noted that it's yucky outside. I think about this description fairly often, personally. 2 things to clock before we move on. 1, the pink voice. We've now heard it beg Paul to turn off the PlayStation and say Marvin hurts it when it's on. And a couple episodes ago, through Tool, it said, I love you, New Maker. Please show Marvin where his house is. I want to be clear about kind of what this is saying. It's not affection. This is what you say when you've understood that warmth is a survival strategy, when you've learned that performing love is the price of being allowed to communicate at all. The I love you is compliance kind of dressed as a connection. The entity speaking through Tool is being made to help the person who hurts them and framing it with tenderness because that's the only tool they have. 2, the shadow figure. That's Marvin. Green is Marvin's color, as we'll confirm shortly, and here is Petscop's formal grammar in action because the series speaks primarily in colors. Everything Marvin interacts with or controls moves counterclockwise. The windmill he reverses, counterclockwise. The camera he repositions, counterclockwise. His later playthrough will operate the same way. Clockwise is forward motion, progress, like time moving correctly. Counterclockwise is Marvin, regression, being stuck. A man who cannot go forward because he is permanently oriented backwards, rotating through the same year over and over, unable to face what he actually did. Right, quick word from the people keeping this channel alive at this point, honestly. Lost in Cult. If you've been here a while, you know I've talked about them before, and that's because they keep doing things that are genuinely worth talking about. They make premium deep dive books about games, not strategy guides, not wiki printouts, actual books designed properly, written by people who care about games that deserve that level of attention. Alan Wake, Tunic, Cult of the Lamb, Outer Worlds, the proper stuff. Their latest is Faith, the Unholy Trinity design works, made in collaboration with the creator Airdorf himself and New Blood Interactive. Writer Steven Scaife goes through the whole history of the thing, how a game made at 192 by 160 pixels, pulling sound effects from Pokemon cries and taking inspiration from everything between the Blair Witch Project and SpongeBob SquarePants, ended up becoming one of the most genuinely unsettling horror games ever made. If you've played Faith, you know exactly why it warrants this. If you haven't, Honestly, the book might be the best possible argument for why you should. There is a deluxe edition running until June 30th, and it is genuinely ridiculous in the best way. Alongside the main book, you get a second rotoscope booklet, specifically about face staccato cutscene animations, which, if you know the game, you know are a huge part of why it gets under your skin. With tracing paper overlays so you can see Erdorf's original filmed movements next to the final in-game frames side by side. You also get 3 lenticular rotoscoped art cards, a cassette of the official soundtrack, and the whole thing comes in a slipcase wrapped in red book cloth with black foil, stored inside a presentation box with red foil and a debossed cross on the front. It looks like an artifact from the game itself, which is clearly the intention, and it works extremely well. Standard edition stays available after the campaign closes, but the deluxe is limited to the pre-order window, so if you want it, now is when. Code NotSaberFaith at lostincult.co.uk gets you 10% off this or anything in their store. The link is in the description. Go take a look. Now we arrive at Petscop 7. Paul has returned to the Quitter's room. You can hear him turning pages. He's keeping a notebook through this whole investigation, which is extremely earnest and pretty relatable. While he's doing that, a jingle plays from the other side of the room, and the smiley-faced mimic figure, which wasn't present a moment ago, appears as the tune ends.
Something's happening. Oh, hi there.
Paul goes to check Tool. There's already a message waiting in pink handwriting on the wall. Come here. Same pink as Tool when it changed, and Paul follows it. Tool is now displaying, I love you, Newmaker. Please show Marvin where his house is. Paul asks who it is. No answer on that front. What he gets instead, go there and he'll follow you. His daughter is there. And then separately, also wants 1,000 pieces for Machine Beyond School Basement Stairway. The pieces Paul has been collected since episode 1, the little gems scattered on the ground, apparently go towards a machine in a school basement that requires 1,000 of them. The pieces have a purpose, and if my feeling is correct, it's not a good purpose. Paul asks about the eyebrows. He's noticed that they do keep coming up, the note in Care's room, the excitement about Care not growing them, and he tries Mike's face without eyebrows again and gets a room with roads and gift boxes on the floor. He notes all of it, but doesn't fully understand any of it, neither do we, yet. And this brings us to Petscop 8. Paul is on the road doing the extremely reasonable thing of testing whether cars will hit him if he stands in the lane. They won't. As long as he's in the road itself, which is either a game mechanic or Petscop being merciful for once, when a figure runs out of the tunnel. It is the same body as Paul's guardian, but the face is deep green, distorted, with jagged pointed features that go in directions a face shouldn't really go. It runs to the hallway with the 3 portraits, school, house, windmill, and points at the school picture, points at the house picture, then runs into a blank wall repeatedly, urgently, like it knows there should be a door there and cannot understand why there isn't one. Then it vanishes upwards straight through the ceiling. That's Marvin. Green is Marvin's color, as we established earlier. The note in Care's room addressed, it's you in green. Marvin's wife spoke in blue, Care is yellow. The figure running into a wall and disappearing upwards is Marvin. We have his face now. Paul ends up on the phone. He theorizes about the blank wall. Maybe there used to be a passage there. Maybe the game has changed between versions.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's not here now.
Then, almost as an aside, mid-thought,
Well, it could have changed between then and 2004. After 2004, my mom had it reportedly.
the game was in Paul's family. His mother had it before him, before 2004. Presumably somebody else had it. It has been circulating. Paul didn't discover Petscop. Petscop found its way to Paul. He was always going to be here, he just didn't know it, and I don't think we did either. Petscop 9 opens without Paul narrating. A demo plays automatically, his player character in the treadmill room of the gift plane, running the counter down from 16 to 3, pausing, then continuing down to 0. Then the game crashes. This might seem arbitrary until you remember the daisy in episode 2 had 16 petals. Paul plucked it down to 3 before going to check on the NLM figure, then came back and plucked the remaining 3, ending on They Love Me Not. The treadmill is running the same countdown, 16 to 3 to 0, and later Paul will discover he can run the treadmill to -1, a pluck that doesn't exist, an impossible final petal that says they love her, and Care NLM becomes catchable. The gift plane and the new maker plane are not parallel environments, they are the same game just seen from 2 different sides, and actions in one produce consequences in the other throughout. Paul then figures out how to become the Shadow Man. In episode 1, the note that came with the game describes someone walking downstairs and turning right at the bottom and becoming a Shadow Monster Man. Paul goes down the shed stairs, the same stairs that lead to the NLM room, and turns right instead of going straight. He becomes a dark silhouette, featureless, exactly like the figure from episode 6, the Shadow Monster Man. In shadow form, he goes to the new maker plane, to where the windmill should be. And the windmill is there, present, solid, rotating, as if it never left. Only visible from within the shadow state. He enters it. Inside, a woman figure mounted on a large assembly of cogs spinning with the machinery. A sign beside her shows her face, the same type of face display used throughout the child library. A white tool nearby gives Paul 50 pieces when he interacts with it. Then she vanishes it, back to normal form, and the windmill is gone again. Paul enters her face in the child library, and it responds with, "You found her." Her room, a red tool and a windmill model on the bedside table, cog patterns on the floor. Same cog she was spinning on, and on the back wall a note, signed for the first time, with a name. "You must have guessed, but I was looking for your things. I found that picture of you from 1977 standing in front of an old windmill with your friend. You went there and it was a bad idea. Your friend and the windmill both disappeared into thin air. Her sister was holding the camera. She took another picture minutes later, just you, no windmill, and no friend. You married your sister, and years later, your friend was reborn as your daughter. Your wife won't admit this is true, but I know it because I found the evidence. Your friend never returned with you, and the windmill was gone. I went to see it myself. Where is it? What did you do? Rainer Newmaker." Rainer, there's a name. And what he's signing his name to is a direct accusation. You were there, something happened. Where is the windmill? What did you do to Lena? The episode also contains the party room, and there's 2 gifts. Paul opens the first and gets a green key that floats above his head. He opens the second and blank sensor box, instantly, completely obscuring what emerged. This is the first of the 4 sensors predicted in episode 3. Something in that second gift disturbed Paul enough that whoever manages this channel flagged it ahead of time. Paul continues into a new version of the gift plane. Altered music, different door configurations, subtly but fundamentally changed, and eventually catches Care NLM by running the treadmill to -1. Her description? Care NLM escaped from the school's basement and wandered the new maker plane for days. To catch her, you had to lie, but it may not be a lie forever. You're the new maker. You can turn Care NLM into Care A and close the loop. And then this brings us to Petscop 10. Paul opens both cage doors in even care. One was previously open, one closed, which turned out to be the mechanism that controls access to the quitter's room. With both open, he can enter from the correct unmirrored side. The smiley face figure is now on the mirrored side. The note, "Do you remember being born?" reads forwards now, not backwards. He's where the figure actually lives. He asks Tool one more question. Where was the windmill? And gets a black sensor box immediately, the largest one yet. Whatever Tool's answer was, the channel managers flagged it before Paul even got here, and it is the 3rd predicted sensor. Now let me properly introduce Rainer. He's been the author of everything in Petscop since the first note that came with the game. Every wall text, every tool response, every room note in the child library, every in-game message, it's all been Rainer. But he's not a puzzle setter. He didn't build this for players to solve, he built it for one specific person, Marvin. to walk through the rooms that correspond to his psychology and his crimes, to interact with the faces of the people he damaged, to be addressed directly and specifically by a game that knows everything about him. Petscop is a tribunal. It just happens to have also trapped Paul and Belle, and eventually Paul's entire digital consciousness, and by the end of this, us. But Marvin was the intended audience. Raina's grief is the engine. Everything else kind of just functions as infrastructure. Before Petscop 11 loads, the channel description changes, and the family announce themselves. The purpose of this YouTube channel is to preserve and display the recordings within the video game Petscop while keeping some of their content private. They were first given to us as a Christmas gift many years ago. The game had an interesting journey before and after that day. Paul created some additional recordings in 2017 as a way to show Petscop gameplay to his friend. He created this account in order to upload those additional recordings in video format. He later passed ownership of the channel to us, but continued to record himself at our strong suggestion. Though he had issues with the arrangement, these have finally been settled. Please enjoy the recordings in Petscop. We do, smiley face. The smiley face at the end of "these have finally been settled" is doing an enormous amount of heavy lifting. The family run this channel, and Paul uploads because they insisted it. Apparently he had problems with the arrangement, problems that are now resolved to everyone's satisfaction, hence the emoticon. Every censor box, every out of order episode, every reveal that feels like it's been managed, sits kind of differently once you know this. We have never just been watching the raw footage, more the curated experience of how the family wants us to experience it. But alas, this brings us to Petscop 11. Paul navigates the new maker plane and finds a spinning tire on a pedestal. He manipulates it like a padlock, asking where is house, and the tire rotates and points him in a direction. He follows the direction until he hits a sign. This is a frozen house, captured 3 times exactly as it was. And behind it is Marvin's house, black exterior painted over, but green windows and a green door. Paul's green key, carried since the party room in episode 9, unlocks it. We find inside a Christmas party, frozen mid-moment. People-shaped figures appear and disappear around the room in repeating positions. The ambient sound of dishes clinking, distant conversation. It's a gathering. Marvin's wife addresses Paul in blue text. Where have you been? Why were you gone for such a long time? Is this a present? Who is it for? She doesn't know who she's talking to. She thinks that she's talking to her husband, presumably, but Paul collects everything he can find. There's 2 calendars on the wall, one green and one grey. Paul examines the green one while on the phone to someone. They work through it together. The green highlights run from June 5th to November 10th, solid every single day. Before that, the highlights are every other day, then weekends, and a period of nothing, then sparse again going further back. Paul on the phone puts it together.
Yeah, so June to November. Yeah, on that topic, I don't remember meeting this girl at all. I don't remember knowing her. And I remember you saying that we are exactly the same age. I just don't remember even hearing about anyone going missing.
The person on the other end of the phone confirms the dates. June 5th, Care went missing. November 10th, Care went home. 5 months, and the pattern before that, every other day. Weekends gradually reducing, is the custody schedule of a marriage that was falling apart before the abduction happened. Paul also notes a very strong resemblance between him and Care. The same birthday, the same face, essentially.
I do agree there's a resemblance. Very strong resemblance between us.
The house exists in at least 2 time states simultaneously. The bathroom is where this becomes most explicit. Paul enters it twice at different times of day. 5:11 p.m. in one state, 6:14 p.m. in another, and the same jingle plays both times. The same phrase comes out of his mouth both times.
The hell? That was an experience.
There's a road demo sequence that plays. A car driving through a tunnel towards the house at approximately 6 p.m, a clock on the wall showcasing time progressing, the camera heading into a non-existent doorway in a wall. The house sign said it, captured 3 times exactly as it was. 3 moments, and Paul is moving between them. A note on the bulletin board. My husband may come here after 6 p.m. Please stay overnight if you can. Thank you so much. Marvin's wife is afraid of Marvin coming to the house. She's asking someone, Raina, as it will turn out and it's pretty obvious, to be present because she doesn't want to be alone when Marvin arrives. The calendar on the wall now shows June 5th, and the time in the game is 6:10 p.m. Paul finds Care A's bedroom. She's sitting on her bed, and he explores the room, tries to get to the window above, goes back inside. The closet door closes on him. He can't open it.
I know what it wants me to do now.
He waits and the clock ticks towards 6:15. At exactly 6:15, the AC unit blows off the bedroom window and Marvin's green figure appears, grabs Care and runs. The game then displays, Care left the room. Care left the room is the notification from Petscop 2, the cold yellow status update with no context that Paul received back then. That was the moment of the kidnapping, shown to us before we had any way of understanding it, stripped of everything that would make it comprehensible. So that 9 episodes later, when the full context arrives, it hits with the force of something that was always true and you just didn't know. Raina showed us the end before the cause. Tony built the series that way deliberately. The gap between when you see something and when you understand it is precisely where this series does its most damage, and it's been doing it since the 2nd episode apparently. Paul then catches Care A. The room resets, she reappears. He goes up through the window Marvin used and catches her. He reads her description, Raina's last message. When the emergency began, you were all looking for Care A. I told you all we would never find Care A. When Care A goes missing, she goes missing forever. My brother didn't want us to find him because he knew we were all looking for Michael A. I'm back. This is my present for you. I started it in 1996 for Marvin. If you think they're worth any effort, see if you can save Care B or Care NLM. Care B is on the school, of course. Fuck you all and fuck me as well. Merry Christmas. Check your bathroom now. Raina. My brother. Raina is Michael Hammond's older brother, Daniel Hammond. He built Petscop in 1996 as a birthday present for his little brother. And then Mike died, and Daniel rebuilt the entire game into a tribunal for Marvin. And then he said goodbye. Check your bathroom now. The Petscop soundtrack, a later separate release, labels the music for that section of the house Bathroom 2. Raina died at the Christmas party. It's pretty obvious. He built a system designed to outlast him, left it as a Christmas gift, and wrote the family instructions and was done. Tony Domenico made the same choice. He built a private world out of grief and craft, gave it to an audience he would never meet, and refused to finish it. The creator mirrors the character. The deliberate incompleteness is shared between them. The episode ends with a school demo. Marvin is in a classroom, a piano called the Niels piano, Paul's alternate being instructed to play music. Play music for baby, she will become melody. The music starts correctly, then slips. Marvin, Tiara plays bad music too. The piano, this music, these specific notes, all of it comes back. Before we go any further, I've thrown a lot at you and some of it is genuinely confusing, and I think it's worth just stepping back and laying out what is actually happening here in plain English. No analysis, no craft observations, just the situation explained like a normal person would explain it. So, from the top. Petscop is a PS1 game, except it's not really. Because PS1 games aren't real fictional constructs made by one person and uploaded to YouTube. But within the world of the series, it's a PS1 game. A man named Paul found it, or found its way to him through his family, and in March 2017, he started recording himself, playing it and uploading the footage to prove to a friend that it was real. That's it, that is the setup. One guy, one game, one YouTube channel. The game has 2 parts. The first part is the gift plane, the bright, cheerful, unfinished pet-catching game we saw at the start. Colourful, happy music, very much aimed at children. Paul catches some pets, enters a code from a note that came in the box, and the music stops and he's in a completely different place. The New Maker plane. An infinite dark field, and there's no context, no explanation, just darkness and a spotlight following him that he can't escape. So already, there are 2 layers. The cheerful surface game and the dark thing underneath it. The surface game exists to make the dark thing feel like a violation when you reach it. Below the New Maker plane, there's an underground labyrinth, and this is where the game starts telling you what it actually is. And then we find the other stuff, like the child's grave, the child library, the eyebrows, the stuff like that. That stuff I won't explain because a lot of it is self-explanatory, but there are a lot of stuff that is more confusing and more abstract. The main being the color coding. Every character in Petscop has a color. Care is yellow, Marvin is green, his wife Anna is blue, Raina is white. Belle and Tiara, who will come into it a lot further on I think, are pink and purple. It isn't just decoration to make it look pretty, it's how the game tells you who is speaking and who a piece of writing is addressed to. When you see a note written in green, it's either written by or addressed to Marvin. When Tool turns pink, Belle is speaking through it. Once you have that system, you can read any piece of in-game text and know exactly who it's for. But I think the most pressing thing that I haven't really covered that well is the recording system. Every time someone plays Petscop, the game logs their inputs, every movement, every direction, just every decision in general. It stores these as recordings attached to specific save file generations. It will come up a lot more later, and I don't want to spoil anything, but the game basically doesn't just remember you play it, it builds a functional copy of how you move through it, and that copy continues after you stop. Just keep that in mind. But everything else, I mean, you should have pretty good clarity-ish. But everything else I'll try and explain more in the future. But the main thing to remember, outside of everything I've said now, is that the game wasn't meant for Paul. Keep that in mind. Before we get into episode 12, one thing needs establishing. Belle. She's the smiley face figure from the Quitter's Room, the one that's been mirroring Paul since episode 2. She's also the entity that speaks through Tool when it turns pink. She's been inside Petscop since approximately 1999, 17 and a half years of continuous running, because Marvin put her there after she refused to complete the rebirthing ritual, which is something we will get into way later, but just keep it in mind. The Quitter's Room is where she ended up, a mirrored space where instead of being allowed to be herself, she was made to reflect whoever came through. The punishment for refusing to be erased is spending 17 years becoming everyone else. She has no quit option, she cannot leave. But episode 12 might change that. And that brings us to Petscop 12. It is another demo recording, but from the other side of the Quitter's Room, Belle's side, and from Belle's perspective. Paul's guardian has a red pyramid for a head. They're the same character model, but viewed from opposite sides of the mirror. They each look like strangers. The mimic that Paul has been watching him back, and they look nothing like what either of them thought. Paul's alternate moves to the unmirrored side, and the two figures collide somehow, and Belle is free from the room she's been inside since before this channel was created. Now we see messages that Raina wrote to her, and the register shift is immediate and total. Everything Raina has written so far that we've read has been written towards Marvin, and it's cold, like a prosecutor, a precision instrument of accountability. But to Belle? Hi Belle, you're free. I left these messages for you to look at in case you ever rescue. So while you walk around looking for something to do, I'll come up periodically. When the messages run out, I'll be out of your hair forever and ever. Warm, gentle, and a little playful, Raina seemed to love Belle. Belle then walks around the underground. At Mike's grave, a message appears. You've apparently been running Petscop non-stop for 553,758,221 seconds, or 153,822 hours. That looks dubious to me. What do you think? 153,000 hours is approximately 17 and a half years of continuous uninterrupted play. Belle has been in this game running without stopping since approximately 1999 or 2000. Her pause menu has no quit option. It is just not there. The game simply doesn't offer it to her, and I don't think this is a glitch. Add the child library. You're not family, so I didn't add your traits to the face system. That means I didn't add your eyes or your eyebrows or your nose. Belle was never part of this family by blood. She has no room in the child library. She can't be generated, visited. She was adopted, brought into Marvin's world from outside, and the game knows it. On the New Maker plane, Belle encounters Marvin. He doesn't interact with her. It's possible he can't see her. Raina tells her, don't get lost. Then his final message to her, apparently, the one that explains everything about how she got here. Happy birthday, Belle. I'm calling you Belle because that's who you are. You might be confused as to what happened. I was overeager before and started calling you Tiara prematurely. I created a space in the menu for you, still in use now. Then I put you inside the machine and played the second movement of Stravinsky's septet on the needles. I played it wrong, but that would have been okay if you hadn't given up halfway. You would still be Tiara. This is not what happened, and now I'm gone. So, Marvin wanted to perform a rebirthing ritual on Belle, convert her into someone called Tiara. The process involves a machine, a specific piano called the Needles, and Stravinsky's septet played correctly. Daniel assisted. I played it wrong, and Belle resisted, stopped halfway. In Marvin's framework, she was a quitter. So she went to the Quitter's room, a mirrored space where she was made to mirror other people rather than being allowed to be herself. The punishment for refusing to be erased is spending 17 years reflecting everyone else. Belle's pause menu reveals the final horror. There's no quit option. She can't leave the game, can't exit, it's just not in the menu. When the messages run out, I'll be out of your hair forever and ever. Rainer is gone now. The messages are all she has of him. But with that horrific revelation, it brings us to Petscop 13. Paul finally figures out Toneth, the bird from episode 1 that he never caught. By applying the same logic that worked underground with the tool, use the bucket as a catching mechanism by positioning it where Toneth will fall in. He pushes the bucket from Randus's room all the way to Toneth's room, positions it, and Toneth drops in. Episode 1 was solvable this whole time, and the tools for it were always there apparently. He catches every remaining pet in even care. The game's congratulation message. You caught every pet in even care, aside from Toneth, who isn't here yet. You have seen everything in the game so far, but there will obviously be more. It's a growing organism. Your controller inputs will be useful, but your feedback will be even more useful. Please leave the PlayStation on when you leave. You can stand up now. Please leave the PlayStation on when you leave. The game wants to keep running after Paul stops playing. It wants his inputs to continue even in his absence. It is, per its own description, a growing organism, and it appears to be learning. Then a car door opens, and it closes. Paul has been playing Petscop from inside a car this entire time. Not a room, not even a house, not some sensible indoor location, a car. Somewhere. We don't know where or why or what the circumstances are that makes a vehicle the most logical place from which to investigate a PS1 horror game for months on end. The image of it, Paul alone in the dark of a car, in some kind of transit or hiding, playing a game that was built for someone else, is kind of terrifying, and it produces it via an ambient sound. And now it brings us to Petscop 14. Paul's save file is gone, replaced by one labeled Strange Situation. In the 1970s, developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth designed an observational procedure called the Strange Situation. The setup: a mother and infant in a room. A stranger enters, the mother leaves. The stranger leaves, the mother returns. Variations on this for roughly 20 minutes. The point was to measure how the infant attached to the caregiver and how they coped with separation. 3 patterns emerged. Secure attachment: child is distressed when mum leaves but easily comforted on return. Confident she's coming back. Avoidant: the child appears unaffected by the separation, seems not to need the caregiver. Resistant or anxious: child is extremely distressed when separated and can't be easily comforted even when the caregiver returns. Ainsworth's argument was that these patterns directly reflected the child's home environment. The secure child had been responded to reliably and warmly. The avoidant child had been consistently rejected, and the resistant child had experienced unpredictable care. And this maps pretty much flawlessly onto Petscop itself. Care A is secure, Care B is avoidant, and Care NLM is resistant. Nobody loves me, and she's wandering. The 3 states Paul has been tracking since the pinboard in episode 2 are Ainsworth's 3 attachment categories. Rainer built this game's internal architecture around developmental attachment theory from the 1970s. He designed a system that diagnoses the children in it by what was done to them. This is either brilliant or deeply unhinged, and it's probably both. The Strange Situation save loads into a birthday party at Marvin's house. Paul is playing as Care. He has a yellow balloon floating above him and a party hat. Care's yellow. Marvin's wife addresses him in blue. "You made it, happy birthday. Why are you covering your face?" "Oh, of course I recognize you. Those eyes, that nose, that's still you." Care came to her own birthday party covering her face. Her mother is being gentle and careful and not drawing attention to it because what else do you do? Paul checks his actual phone calendar mid-episode. November 12th, 2017, the year he's recording, fell on a Sunday. The in-game calendar shows November 12th, also a Sunday. He reports this to whoever he's talking to on the phone, and he says he's getting a bad feeling again. The house in this episode contains at least 2 time states. Paul tests a theory. One of the most interesting things he does in the entire series, actually. That the locked door in his version of the house and the open door in the demo version might be the same door viewed from different game states, like the windmill, present in shadow form and absent in regular form. He stands in front of the locked door, narrates what he would be doing if he were in the room. He counts his steps, acts as if the obstacles weren't there.
I'm going to picture in my head that this door is actually open right now. And if I were to pass through this doorway Would I bump into a door? No, because the door is open, right? I would just keep going into the room that's there, and I happen to know I'm gonna walk into the room right now. I'm in the room. I happen to know what this room looks like because I saw it in a demo recording just today, and you can see it too. I assume it will be up on the family YouTube along with this video that I'm recording right now.
And the family has uploaded a demo recording that overlays onto his footage showing exactly what he would have encountered if you were actually in that state. He calls the family's private recording channel the Family YouTube. He knows about it, he knows his footage is being managed. Then Care speaks in yellow text. She asks about a disc, about her discovery pages, about Jill. Marvin's wife responds in blue, confused, calm but clearly worried. What are you talking about? What discs? Discovery pages? Jill, stop ignoring me. Get in here and show me where that disc is. No, Care, this is Mommy. This is your mommy, sweetie. I'm right here in front of you. There's no one else here. What are you looking at? What's over there? Can't you hear me? Can't you see me waving? Snap out of it. Care, where are you going? Paul drops the controller. There's a long pause.
I think that was based off of a conversation that I had last year on my birthday.
His conversation with Jill on his birthday, which is the same birthday as Care's, reconstructed inside a game that was made in 1996, but Paul found in 2017. There are rational explanations. Someone in the family had access to that conversation, and the game was modified after Paul started playing. Someone who knew him personally provided his data to Raina's system. All of those are plausible, but none of them make the feeling go away. The feeling that the game just knows stuff that it shouldn't. That it was watching before Paul started, that it was built around things that it shouldn't know. That it was built around him before he found it. That specific fear of being surveilled by something whose edges you can't quite locate. It's the Shoggoth. Is what Raina spent years engineering into the game, and Tony spent years engineering into the series.
6, 7.
Then inside the game on an in-game computer called a Toneth, Paul's Discovery Page's website. The site he built to document Petscop, displayed inside Petscop in a game from 1996.
I have no idea what's going on anymore.
He never plays again. Everything from episode 15 onward is Paul's AI alternate, the copy the game has been building since he first picked up the controller. A quick note before we continue again. Paul stopped playing at the end of episode 14, but Petscop has been logging his input since the moment he first entered the code in episode 1. Every movement, every puzzle solution, every direction he chose, basically everything. Every moment he paused and tried something differently. By episode 14, that data was substantial enough to build a functional copy. The Paul who walks through this school from episode 15 onwards, who faces Marvin, who plays the Needles piano, which is stuff we'll get into later, that's the copy. Not Paul, but built from Paul, and in every way the game can measure, pretty much indistinguishable. Which brings us to Petscop 15. Demo recording in the school. First-person perspective now, different from everything that came before. A red visual haze that limits visibility significantly, a HUD in the corner showing orientation, and the school soundtrack, which is heavy and wrong, that makes it clear that this is not a place to be in. Paul's alternate explores corridors, then finds a full-wall photograph of a girl, simply labeled "girl" in enormous letters. And every time the alternate tries to walk away from it, every time they move too far, the game physically repositions them back in front of the photo. Not a text prompt, not even a lock, the game just moves the characters. There's several attempts, but the result is the same. The girl is important and you are not leaving. They then find a classroom. Marvin is there, rendered in green, his tool form apparently. Given what we've seen of the tool operating under his influence. Set here for present. The alternate sits. Belle emerges from behind the chalkboard and walks towards them. Marvin introduces her. She immediately corrects him. I am Tiara, not Belle. The rebirthing has been working, or has worked enough. The name Marvin gave her is the one she uses for herself now. Belle, Tiara, instructs the alternate to press Nifty. They work out what it means. A texture editor accessible through the PlayStation controller inputs. You can draw directly onto in-game surfaces in real time. The alternate draws high on the chalkboard. Pink writing appears around the room, on the walls outside the classroom, spreading. The same pink and the same handwriting. The entity writing in pink through tools since episode 7, leaving messages, trying to communicate. That was Belle. 17 years of pink writing, reaching out to whoever would eventually find the game. Now we're on to Petscop 16, one of the shortest episodes in the series. It opens on a shot of Marvin's garage, a computer on a desk, and parked beside it, an orange car just sitting there. It's been in that garage this entire time. Then the screen cuts to a burn-in monitor warning. Burn-in is what happens when a static image sits on a screen long enough that it physically etches into the display. The warning reads, "No controller input has been detected for a very long time. Family, neighbors, police, or whoever. Keep game console running and call provided phone number." The phone number is, of course, redacted from the video. Family, neighbors, police, or whatever. The instruction is not for the player, it's for whoever finds the game running in a room unattended, because whoever was supposed to be playing it is no longer in a position to handle this themselves. The game needs someone to come and see what's happening and make sure it stays on. It doesn't say why, and I don't think we'll ever really get an answer. It just says, whoever you are, keep it running and call this number. Then the ghost room. A top-down schematic view of a room revealed as the burn-in settles. On the right side, a piano with what appears to be a PlayStation controller mounted directly to the top of it. The Needles piano, the same one from the school demos. Top left corner, a bed. Bottom of the room, a television, and next to it, a framed picture of Marvin's living room. In the center, there's a red dot sitting on the bed, stationary. The episode is mostly just this. The red dot sits on the bed, the burn-in warning cycling back and forth, the room sitting there. Then the dot stirs, moves slowly across the floor to the chair in front of the TV, and seems to sit. The burn-in warning disappears, and the controller input has resumed. Someone woke up and started playing. The Petscop 17 pause manual will describe this room as a ship in a bottle, which brings us to Petscop 17. We see the sound test menu, a standard feature of PS1 era games. Paul's alternate navigates to sound file 84. Care saying, uh-oh. Sound file 85.
Bye-bye.
They go back and forth between these two. Then they select 85 and play it, over and over, 100 and something times for approximately a full minute of runtime. Until the audio of Care's uh-oh plays unexpectedly. Despite 85 being selected, the screen flashes red and a hidden developer menu opens. In this menu, there's 3 options: all recordings, room impulse, and extra stuff. Paul's alternate selects room impulse, and there's a menu of every room in the game. They select house, then scroll to generation 10 and hit play. The house fills with guardians, dozens of them, all with red pyramid heads. The way Paul looked to Belle from her side of the mirror. They move in broken, iterative patterns, running into walls, turning in circles, hiding behind the television, clustering near exits, backing into corners. Some of them find the front door and leave. Most don't. It looks exactly like machine learning looks when you can see it happening. The specific quality of something testing, failing, adapting, and testing again. The alternate adjusts a dial, the same dial we saw in the ghost room schematic, and focuses it on specific guardians. When focused on, the pyramid head becomes the normal guardian sprite. You see them as a person rather than a placeholder. Each one seems to be a real player who ran through this version of the game. Every generation is an iteration of Rayna's systems getting better at modeling human behavior. The alternate focuses on one specific guardian. Carrie Mark's iteration and follows her outside. Then Rayna speaks through the game directly to her. He names her full family. You are a girl named Carrie Mark, and you were born on November 12, 1992. You have a mommy named Anna, a daddy named Marvin, an auntie named Jill, an uncle named Thomas, and a cousin named Daniel. Daniel is Rayna, as we established earlier. Daniel Hammond, Mike's older brother, Care's cousin. The name gives it away, and the game confirms it later. Rayna is a name that Daniel adopted, not his given one. He continues, calling what he's doing a spell, explicitly. I hope to guide you to a location with a spell, which I will begin now. He states her identity and history as if saying the truth about her out loud will counteract what Marvin tried to do to it. He asks where she was on November 11th, 1997. The day between when Care escaped the school and when she arrived home, the missing day that nobody knows about. Carrie's iteration retraces her step. Rayna writes about Marvin sitting on a park bench with birthday cake, putting up birthday girl signs instead of missing girl signs, waiting for someone who was never coming home. When I learned about this absurd story, I spent a lot of time digging. Eventually, I found out what really happened to that girl. Wanna know? Ask. Carrie asks. A grave rises from the ground. Lena Leskowitz, 1968 to 1977. They didn't see her. The windmill girl, Anna's sister, the 9-year-old who went to a windmill with Marvin in 1977 and never came back. Right, here it is. The central argument of this essay stated plainly. There's no more hints. The ghost room is a ship in a bottle. A ship in a bottle was never on open water. It was built inside the container it inhabits. It exists only there, and it always will. Raina built a system that copies every person who plays Petscop and keeps the copy inside permanently. Their movements, their inputs, their patterns, all of it stays in the game after they've stopped. The Paul walking through the school facing Marvin, playing the Needles piano, that's the Paul that Petscop built from 13 episodes of Paul being Paul. And Marvin is in there too, no quit option, permanently. Raina kept him. That was always the design. You cannot leave Petscop any more than you can leave the worst thing you ever did. The Warden is a dead man whose system is still running, still processing inputs, and still adding to the room impulse log. This kind of brings me to next post Petscop coverage, which is genuinely excellent and worth watching. But at the end of his series, he said, in a way, ambiguity is more horrifying than clarity. He said it once and moved on. But that sentence is the thesis of what we're doing here. The ambiguity was designed. The incompleteness is load-bearing. Raina built a game that works precisely by never giving you enough to close it. Tony made exactly the same creative choice. You were never going to get the full picture, and that was the brief. That's what all of this has been about. And this brings us to Petscop 18, where finally we're getting somewhere. This is where we see the game's back end, the extra stuff section, concept art from development. The Guardian, Paul's player character throughout the series, is officially named for the first time. Earlier Guardian designs had upside-down triangle eyes, the same eyes the game switches to in the school when it forces the alternate back to the girl photo. The older, more threatening version of the Guardian comes from an earlier build. The hostile expression predates the friendly face Tony gave it for the final version. Toneth's earliest design had no broken leg. The leg was broken during development. This means whatever happened to Mike happened while Daniel was actively building this game. Not before he started, not after he finished, during. The game changed shape in real time as the events that would define it were unfolding. The house concept art is simple: green walls, dark roof. During its display, faintly, a child's voice. Petscop 19. All recordings. Every save file since the game was first run, in chronological order from the very beginning. Then Mike 2, a proper room with an Easter egg to collect. Mike finds it and a message appears. What? One of the eggs was in Daniel's game? What an unfair trick. Daniel's game, before the New Maker plane, before the Tribunal, before any of this. This was Daniel's game. He put Easter eggs in it for his little brother to find, and Mike was the first person who ever played Petscop. Care at Generation 3. A 3-year-old version of her running left and right in a very early build of the room with absolutely no idea what she's supposed to be doing. She was here before she could understand what it was, before it became what it became, before any of this happened to her. Belle at Generation 4, clearly older, significantly more capable at navigating the game, but already has no quit option in her pause menu. This was before the New Maker plane was fully developed, but it means that she was trapped from the beginning. Then there's real children's names from the beta testing period scroll by. James, Phil, and one named Amber, who tested the game and accidentally locked herself behind both cage doors in even care, soft-locking the entire build. Daniel found this entertaining enough to name the Amber pet after her. This is the only genuinely sweet detail in Petscop 19, and I'm glad it's here. The save files eventually pass through the Tiara entry, then immediately after it, a save file that is just the F word 3 times in a row. Marvin's reaction when the rebirthing failed. He played it, he watched it fail, and he expressed his feelings about this in the save file name. And then it ends, which brings us to Petscop 20, which shows us Marvin's playthrough, Generation 6. And immediately his controls are inverted, left and right are swapped. The error tone plays every time he tries to correct it. It's unfixable. Paul mentioned twice throughout the series that he confuses his left and right. The game was built from Marvin's broken frame of reference, and Paul inherited the damage of it without ever knowing why. Marvin enters the code and he steps into the New Maker plane and immediately demonstrates why Raina had to build Generation 7 and 8 afterwards. He wanders aimlessly for a long time, clearly has no idea what he's supposed to be doing. Produces nothing useful. Raina writes to him from within the game, dated July 10th, 1997. Hi Marvin, Raina here. You have to be careful this time. If you start running out there without a sense of purpose, you'll get lost. I'm writing this on July 10th, 1997, and Care is still missing. We are searching. Last weekend, we almost got lost ourselves. Beyond here, there are no landmarks. Find the grave, you know the one. It's unmarked, of course. That's the trouble. You're the only person who can find it. Care is still missing, and it's July 10th, 1997. A month into the 5 months. Raina is in the game writing to Marvin, while Care is still in the school basement. Marvin wanders and Raina updates to Generation 8, a version of the game rebuilt specifically because watching Marvin fail to do anything useful in Generation 6 wasn't enough. Generation 8 has a different structure. It has the caskets. Raina calls them caskets, not puzzles, not evidence. Caskets, things that should be buried, things that killed people, and there are 4 of them. Casket 4, 5 red words on a chalkboard in the school. Raina describes it to Marvin directly. 5 words written on a chalkboard in the dirty building you inhabit. We see the chalkboard in episode 23. The words are still censored, and they have been censored every time the game has shown them. They were on the list of predicted censors from episode 3. We never find out what they say. The series never reveals them. The channel didn't reveal them. Whatever those 5 words are, they are the thing the family most wanted kept out of this footage, more than anything else in the series. And the blank space where they should be is one of the loudest silences Petscop produces. Casket 3. The stencil on Marvin's bedroom wall. The one Anna later painted black to cover. After kicking you out of the house, your wife started painting the walls black to cover the stencils. I helped. She made it feel urgent. That Saturday, busy with work, she pinned a note. It contained a list of objects. The note on the bulletin board. My husband may come here after 6 p.m. Please stay overnight. Was Anna asking Raina. He was in that house. He helped erase the evidence of Marvin's presence while simultaneously, in the same hands, building the game that would force Marvin to look at it. Both things at once. The person covering the crime and the person documenting it were the same person. Casket 2. The spinning red pyramid from the gift box in episode 9. The censored item. What Raina says about it. As I painted, I watched Care dance around the house. She liked to spin. She became a blur. But in that blur, somehow as she spun from 45 degrees to 90, to 180, to 360, to 720, 1080, 1440, 1800, 2160. Winding, tightening. I was stunned by pure horror and disgust. Care spinning like the windmill girl spun on the cogs, like Lena spun. Marvin's rebirthing worked, at least partially. His daughter carries something of his childhood friend inside her body, and it comes out when she moves in a certain way. Daniel watched it happen while he was painting the walls and he wrote it down. That's what was in the censored gift box. That's what disturbed Paul more than anything else in the game before he understood what it was. Something he couldn't look at about Care that he couldn't explain, but felt like recognition. Then Casket 1. The vase. You showed Care her red, blurry reflection in a vase. You said, do you see that? Look at how ugly you are now. Care squinted her eyes. The reflection wasn't clear at all, but as you began to describe her grisly deformities, she began to see them. Nobody wants to see you like this, you said, but she soon escaped and bravely returned home. In her bathroom mirror, she saw a clear picture. The last sentence is the most important part of that. Care got out, she went home, and in her bathroom mirror, clear, not blurry, not distorted through a vase Marvin was holding to make herself wrong. She saw herself clearly. She looked at herself and saw herself. After everything he did, that's what she got back first, her own face, unfiltered. The vase is the most personal casket. The other 3 are about crimes. Mike, the stencil, the spinning. The vase is about something Marvin did to Care's sense of herself, in real time, in a room with a vase. It's the smallest object in the series, but it does the most damage. That's why it wrecked Paul before he had any context for it. Somewhere in the copy of Paul the game built, there was enough of Care in him that he reacted to her damage the way you react to something that happened to you. Marvin approaches Mike's grave. The tombstone text follows him, stays in frame, persists. Won't leave his screen no matter what direction he goes. Raina forcing him to keep it in front of him. Mike was a gift. He doesn't get to look away from this one. He doesn't get to walk somewhere else and let it fall off screen. It follows him, and that is the design. Marvin asks Tool what year it is. Paul got a red calendar, 2017, the year he's actually playing it. Marvin gets the green one, 1997, the year he took care. That is Rayna's sentence for him, a single year, looping, no exit, no progression. No way to reach 1998 or any year after it. Marvin's quit option is gone, he cannot leave. Rayna kept him in the worst year of what he did, and locked the door. And this brings us to Petscop 21. And it's just 3 minutes of care, her Generation 8 iteration, dancing to The Sign by Ace of Base in the gift plane corridor. The description reads, The Sign. That's it, no context, no explanation, no horror, no hidden message. After the caskets, after 5 months in a school basement, after the vase and the eyebrows and the spinning, and Marvin's calendar permanently stuck in 1997. After all of it, Care is dancing to a Swedish pop song from 1993 in a bright pink corridor, and she looks completely fine. She made it, she got out, she went home and saw herself clearly in a mirror, and she kept going, and now she's dancing. The series earned this moment, and it delivers it without a single word of ceremony. There's no caption, no analysis, no underlining, just the 3 minutes. That is the correct choice, and Rayna made it deliberately, and it kind of sticks with you. Quick note before we get into this one. Petscop 22 is not a sequel to episode 21 like, normal fucking episodes. I don't fucking, what do you want from me? This is a long ass video. Why even stop watching? Go outside, go touch grass. Joking, stay here. Give me ad revenue. Anyway, it's a sequel to episode 10. Paul still has the green key from the party room in episode 9 in his inventory, which means this footage was recorded before episodes 11 through 21 in the actual order he played the game. The family chose to upload the series out of sequence. In the real chronology, the last time Paul ever spoke was at the end of episode 14. This episode is what happened in the gap between episodes 10 and 11, and it's the actual end of Paul's story, at least thematically, just uploaded in the wrong place. Paul asked Tool, where was the windmill? Not where is it, where was it, past tense. He's been thinking about the grammar of what Tool will and won't answer, and this time he gets something. Not a sensor box, but instead coordinates, numbers arranged in a way that implies a real location somewhere in the world. He's immediately on the phone.
How's it going? Yeah, I'm okay. What do you think of that picture? Yeah, so I went up and I typed, where is the windmill? And that didn't work. And so I tried, where was the windmill? And that's how I got the text. Yeah, I looked them up. The top numbers, I looked them up. You're gonna want to look them up yourself. Yeah, punch them in. I know, me too. It looks like a stone, right? Not yet. Actually, I wanted to go with you.
He doesn't know the game is recording this call. He thinks it's private. He then talks about the family.
I'm not showing the family until I've seen it myself. I don't know. I'm not recording. I stopped it. They don't know much more than we do now. They didn't. I don't like talking to them. They intimidate me. And I'm sure they wouldn't intimidate you at all. Have they called you? They haven't called you, right? I mean, Jill specifically. She hasn't called you. And you don't have to worry about it, right? Because you aren't family, so you wouldn't have a room. That's the thing. You won't be able to escape that's the thing, if she were to start, yeah.
He then becomes the Shadow Man, crosses the road, and Marvin's orange car hits him at speed. The same car, the same orange car from the garage in episode 7. The same orange car that, I don't know if you've picked up on context clues, but that we suspect hit Mike Hammond on a road in 1995 on a night when Marvin was driving somewhere he didn't want to admit to being. The dog that got hit by a car, and Toneth, and the orange car, and Mike's grave in the year 1995. Petscop doesn't usually put things next to each other by accident.
I just forgot to start the recording. They won't like that.
He didn't forget, the game recorded. It always records everything. And they won't like that tells us Paul knows exactly what the family wants from him. He knows the footage goes somewhere, he knows people are watching, and he has been performing availability for them the whole time. Then Belle appears on the road, standing there, on the new maker plane, in the game. And the person on the phone goes silent at exactly that moment.
Hey.
It doesn't seem like they're distracted, it's not a bad connection, they're just silent. The call is still connected, the line is open, the other person just stops speaking. One of them is on the phone and one of them is standing in the game. Both are Belle. Think about what that means. Belle has been inside the game since 1999. Paul has been calling her on the phone for months, making videos to prove the game is real to her, worried she doesn't believe him. She did believe him, she was in it. She has been in it since before Paul found it. The person he was trying to reach across the series was on the other side of a wall he didn't know existed. Paul tries to communicate with her.
What the fuck?
She is pointing right, urgently, clearly trying to get him to go somewhere specific. He stares at her. What do you want?
I know you're trying to say something to me.
Over a minute of this.
What do you want?
Her pointing, him not understanding.
What do you want?
The gap between them that the game created and that she cannot cross and that he cannot close.
What?
The gameplay cuts out and he never speaks again in the series. The phone going silent when Belle appears is the most precise choice in the series. They cannot both be present at the same time. When one exists here, the other cannot speak. The game collapses the paradox by ending the call. Paul has been making videos for someone who already knew everything he was discovering. He was trying to rescue someone who understood the situation better than he did, and the moment she was actually in front of him trying to direct him somewhere, he couldn't read what she was doing. He left. Petscop 23, we're nearing the end. Thanks for sticking with us. This is a fucking mindfuck of a fucking series, honestly. We're in the upper floor of the school, a monitoring room, a Garalina logo on everything, and Garalina, if you look at it, has the last 4 letters spelling Lena, because of course it does. Toneth computers, and in the center of the room, a massive spinning holographic party hat with smaller party hats orbiting it like satellites. The game's soundtracks labels this boss sound. This is the boss of Petscop, a spinning party hat. The person this entire machine was built around, present at the center of a room full of children's things rotating gently and harmlessly in the middle of everything. Paul's alternate deposits 500 pieces into Tool. Every gem picked up off the ground since episode 1 without knowing why. The pieces always had a destination and it seems like this is it. The school goes dark, completely silent. The alternate walks through empty corridors, into a classroom. On the chalkboard, 5 words in red. Casket 4 still censored. We do not see them, and like I said previously, we never will. Then Marvin steps out of the dark. He asks what room Paul is in. 8 ghost room layouts are visible on the schematic, the top-down maps of the rooms where the game keeps its copies of people. Paul's alternate has no idea what happens when Marvin enters a ghost room. No warning from anyone, no reason to think this is anything other than more of the game's mechanics. So the alternate shows him room 1. Marvin types, slowly, using the PlayStation controller alphabet, 1 letter at a time. Thanks, here I come. Paul types, slowly. What? No, no. The input's slow, then stop. For over 2 minutes, there's nothing. Then Marvin leaves. We never found out what he did, there wasn't a way to see it. Whatever happens when Marvin enters a ghost room with someone, whatever it means for an AI copy of a person to be subjected to whatever Marvin does, we are not shown it. The most disturbing moment in the series is a 2-minute gap and 1 line that came before it. The blank space is the horror. Petscop is better at this than almost anything else that has ever tried to be scary. But there's one more thing about that scene. In the gap where Marvin and Paul are just sat there while Marvin does whatever he does, Paul tries to say something but he never finishes it. But taking what we know from the controller language, the 2 letters we can see are D and A. Da. Dad. Somewhere in the copy the game built of Paul, from months of Paul's inputs, from the way Paul moves and thinks and reacts, there is the recognition that Marvin is his father. The game built that into his alternate from Paul's own behavior, but Paul never got to say it. The word sat there unfinished. And I'm not going to try and theorize or anything because it's not really what this video is about, but that's quite disturbing. Because that word, incomplete, cut off before it could land, is the clearest statement the game ever makes about who Paul actually is. And we should talk about that before continuing. The game has been laying breadcrumbs since episode 3. Paul and Care share an exact birthday. He has a strong physical resemblance to her. He has a room in the child library, which means his face was catalogued before he ever touched the game. His mother had it before 2004. In the epilogue later on, Belle says there is Boss waiting for his son. Boss being the figure on the bench, the spinning pink figure, the one who might be Lena. The series never confirmed any of it. It's never said who Paul is or how he connects to the family. But the game keeps putting the same pieces in front of you. The birthday, the face, the room, even the word dad. 2 theories have the most traction. That Paul is Care reborn, or that Paul is Care, and he just doesn't remember any of this. Which would make him blood family and explain why Raina had his face in the system before he arrived. Either way, the game is telling you that Paul was never just a stranger who found something. He was always going to end up here. The word that he tried to type is the game making that as plain as it ever will. But we must continue. Belle enters after Marvin leaves and gives the locker combination. Inside, there's a striped Easter egg addressed to Tiara Leskowitz, Belle's rebirth name with Lena's surname. The note inside is from Mommy. You're off to school today. I'll miss you. I love you so much. I will be on a lawn chair in the driveway waiting for the bus to drop you off. Every day I am so happy to see you come home and tell me what you learned. I hope everybody treats you with love and respect. Love you forever, no matter what. Mommy. There was a person who sat in a driveway and waited for a school bus and was so happy when it arrived. Before the machine, before the quitter's room, before 17 years. Someone who loved Belle in completely plain, uncomplicated terms and wrote it down in a birthday card and put it in an Easter egg inside a locker, inside a game. The note is still there. Belle knows where it is. Then we make our way to the basement. There's a sign on the wall. You'll find the machine up ahead. This is the only entry or exit. You'll pass through this room again as you leave. Keep in mind, everything here your baby will see. The room is full of children's toys, a pit in the center. Paul's alternate pushes his own photograph and his personal effects into the pit. Discards the version of himself the game has been building towards something, and a door opens. Care B is inside, scared and pounding. Care B's description, which is Raina's last direct statement in the series. Care B is scared and pounding on the door. I open it. It's so dark that I can't see her, so I pull her out and the light hits her face. And they won't even give me a picture of her now. They're all scattered in graves, and I'm a piece of shit. Here I go. He found the bodies, he dug until he found what Marvin left, and he wrote down what he was. Someone who helped Marvin and couldn't carry that. And then he went to do the only thing he had left to do. Here I go is Daniel Hammond signing off for the second and final time. And then we get to the machine room. Belle and Marvin are present, and there's a deposit slot, 2 chambers. One full of the pieces Paul collected across the whole series, one empty and waiting. Marvin instructs Paul to place Care B in the deposit slot. Paul complies. Then, play the Needles piano. Stravinsky's septet, second movement, exactly correct. The music that completes the ritual. The notes Marvin has been trying to get someone to play right since a school demo in episode 11. The thing the machine was built to hear. Paul plays it, correctly, for a while. The notes land right and Marvin is still and the ritual is proceeding and everything is moving towards the thing it was designed to produce. And then the melody changes. Paul's melody. Nothing Raina programmed, nothing in the game's music system. The thing the alternate plays when it's playing for itself. When it's doing what Paul would do when Paul was just playing with no instructions in a situation he was never designed to navigate correctly. Marvin rages, the notes glow red. He circles Paul, typing in broken controller language, more urgent, more frantic, demanding he stop. Paul keeps playing. Marvin leaves. He is never seen again in the series. The machine produces the yellow egg. Paul takes it, takes both eggs, this one and the one from Belle's locker, and locks them in the locker together. He goes outside, and there's daylight. For the first time in 23 episodes, the Newmaker plane is in sunlight. The counterclockwise motion stops, and time moves forward. And it's honestly one of the most poignant and beautiful moments in the entire series. I'm surprised the fucking series about the fake game with the little squishy guys, it hit hard. But here's the argument. Every player who came near the machine before Paul either got trapped inside the game or got shaped by it into something that would eventually comply. Marvin has been trying to get someone to play the correct notes since episode 11. Every correct attempt failed. Every player who understood the situation failed. Paul arrived as definitively the wrong person. He didn't know the history through, forgetting or whatever. He didn't know what the music meant, had no idea what he was supposed to do. He played something the game had never heard and could produce no answer to. The wrongness, the complete mismatch between who Paul is and what Petscop was built for, is the only mechanism that breaks the loop. Being wrong is how it ends. And finally, well, not completely done yet, but the final main episode in the series, Petscop 24. We're in the book of baby names, sitting in the pause menu since episode 1, doing apparently nothing, and it opens into a credit sequence. 45 names, every child who played Petscop when it was Daniel's birthday game for Mike. All the beta testers, each one listed with a single descriptor. Belle, Smart. Care, listed here by her full name Carrie. Dizzy. Mike, Painter. Lucas, Counselor. Amber, the one who soft-locked the early build by trapping herself behind both cage doors, who got a pet named after her. 40 others who tested a children's puzzle game at a birthday party and had no idea what they were contributing to. Smart. That's what Petscop 24 gives Belle. After 17 years after the quitter's room and the machine and Marvin and all of it, the credits list her as smart. She is the one who gets Paul out of the school. She survives, and that's the word they gave her. Then a final message separate from the credits. Anna's birthday card to Mike, written before anything happened, before any of it. Anna couldn't make it to Mike's 7th birthday party, so she sent a card. Hi Michael, consider this your birthday card. Sorry I can't put money in it. When I heard how many kids were coming to your party, I was impressed. Thank your big brother for letting you and your friends play games all day and making you so popular. Also thank your other auntie for making this all possible. If you see her, I mean, not everyone can. But anyway, happy 7th. I'm so sorry I couldn't be here. I hope my gift makes up for it. It's the one in the black box. Carrie helped pick it out. Thank her. Opening gifts is so fun. A lot of little mysteries and all are solved. So cathartic. Anyway, I hope you have fun. See you later. Love you, Auntie Anna. P.S. Whatever you do, please don't shake the box. If you see her. I mean, not everyone can. Lena. The series so far has made it out that Lena had died as a child, but maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe she was alive, and this letter seems to suggest that. Anna seems to suggest that. Instead, that she's been hiding since 1977. Not dead, not killed at the windmill, gone on her own terms to somewhere Marvin can't find her. Anna can't say it plainly in a birthday card, but she says it sideways, in a note to her 7-year-old nephew, just in case he has some ability to see what others can't, because not everyone can, and it's never really confirmed whether she's dead or alive, but could go either way. Whatever you do, please don't shake the box. It's a puppy. Petscop's entire thematic through line. Give the pets a good home, a home when they're loved, a home when nobody hurts them. Started as a birthday present from an aunt who couldn't be there for a 7-year-old with a lot of friends, involving a puppy that Carrie helped pick out. Before the tribunal, before the caskets, before any of it. That's where Petscop came from. And it's an oddly cathartic moment to end on. After a series featuring so much disturbing stuff, the mainline series episodes ends on a child receiving a puppy. But that's not the complete end. There's the epilogue, and it's hidden at the end of the Petscop soundtrack video, a separate YouTube upload of the game's music, 45 minutes long, with this sequence sitting at the very end of it. Easy to miss if you don't know it's there, which feels right. We open on the sunlit New Maker Plain, actual daylight. The same infinite dark field of grass that has been oppressive and wrong across 23 episodes is now lit from above. Open, spacious. The spotlight is gone. Belle greets Paul's alternate. There is Boss waiting for her son. Paul, do you remember being born? Smuggle away driving to your new house. Boss in driver's seat, me in back. I could not wait to be your friend. Paul types family. We can investigate this together. They walk to the park bench. There is a figure sitting on it. The spinning pink figure, the one glimpsed through a window in episode 20, the one present beyond the censored bench. Here, now, in sunlight, waiting. Whether that is Lena, whether Lena survived, whether she is alive, whether Anna's sideways birthday card is literally true, the series never confirmed it. The gravestone says they didn't see her, not she died. The epilogue shows a figure on a bench, and the series ends before it will tell you. That is the correct ending for a series about things you are not permitted to fully see. Do you remember being born? Marvin wrote it on the quitter's room wall as a weapon. Erase yourself, agree to become someone else, stop being who you are. A condition of continued existence. Raina asked it as a diagnostic. Is there still a you in there? After 17 years, after everything they tried to do to you. Belle asks it now, and it has shed every bit of that weight. It means something completely different in her mouth. It means, do you remember the beginning? Do you remember being new, being driven somewhere you'd never been, not knowing what your life would become, with someone in the back seat who couldn't wait to meet you? Paul types family. Not a theory, not an answer to what Petscop is, not a revelation or a thesis or a conclusion. Just the word. Just that. And honestly, I think it's the best way the series could have ended. Before we close, let's make sure everything is sitting right, because there's a lot in this series, and some of it only makes sense once you have the full picture sitting right in front of you at once. Here's what we know, and here's what the evidence strongly suggests, and here's what nobody, including the series creator, has ever confirmed. Marvin had a childhood friend named Lena Leskowitz. In 1977, they went to a windmill together. Lena's sister Anna was there taking photographs, and between one photo and the next, Lena and the windmill both disappeared. Whether this is meant literally or figuratively, we don't really know. The series sits quite metaphysically at some points. But Rainer in the game, he doesn't really speculate on what happens, he just accuses Marvin of the crime. Spent years developing a machine to get answers, and he never did. Whether Lena died at the windmill or survived and went into hiding is the question the series most deliberately refuses to resolve. The gravestone says they didn't see her, not that she died, not that she was found, but that they didn't see her. Which could mean she was gone before anyone registered what happened, or it could mean she left on her own terms and never came back, or it could mean she's dead. The epilogue does show the figure on the park bench, and the soundtrack has Belle refer to Boss waiting for her son, the boss being Lena. Marvin put up birthday girl signs and sat on a bench with a cake trying to lure her home for years. The bench keeps appearing, and the series ends before it tells you if anyone is sitting on it. Marvin married Lena's sister Anna, and he had a daughter, Carrie Mark, born November 12, 1992, who he became convinced was Lena reborn partly because she wasn't growing eyebrows. He took her June 5th, 1997, kept her in a school basement, his school, he was a music teacher, apparently, for 5 months while he attempted a ritual to convert her into Lena. She escaped November 10th, and she's the one dancing in episode 21 because she made it. But before Care, Marvin tried the same ritual on Belle, but Belle resisted. She ended up in the quitter's room for 17.5 years with no quit option in the game, writing in pink on walls, speaking through Tool when it turned pink, leaving messages for whoever might eventually come through. Marvin wanted to rebirth Belle specifically into Tiara Leskowitz, Lena's surname, because the intended end state of the ritual was for Belle to become Lena's daughter, a child Lena never had, created inside someone else's body. The note from Mommy in the locker, the lawn chair in the driveway, the school bus, love you forever no matter what, that was written for whoever Belle was going to be made into. Belle knows it's there. Daniel Hammond built Petscop originally as a birthday present for his little brother Mike, a cheerful egg collecting game. Mike was the first person who ever played it. Then Marvin hit Mike with the orange car on a road in 1995. Mike was 7 years old, this isn't confirmed, it's just my reading of it. The Toneth description, a dog hit by a car, the writer wanting to end its suffering, concluding that happiness in a damaged creature isn't real, is written in Daniel's voice about his brother. That's what Toneth is. That's what the dog is, and the A/B/NLM system applies to Mike too. But whatever happened to Mike, Daniel rebuilt the game from scratch into a tribunal for Marvin. He also helped Marvin with the Belle ritual and couldn't live with it, and he died at the Christmas party in 1997, where he gave the family the game. And speaking of the family have managed the channel since Daniel left it to him. Jill, Care's aunt, runs things. Paul is afraid of her, and the family as a whole. It says that anyone who sees the completed caskets is sure to become part of the family, which Rainer wrote, which means he designed the game to pull in witnesses. Now on to Paul himself. His surname is almost certainly Leskowitz. The Reddit account that first published Petscop publicly was u/PA Leskowitz. Tony confirmed it was his account, making it canonical within the fiction. Leskowitz is Lena's surname, and Leskowitz is Anna's maiden name. Having that surname means being blood-related to the family. But here's the thing that most coverage misses. Tony voiced Paul himself, and Care's voice clips, the sounds in the sound test menu, the uh-oh and bye-bye, are recordings of Tony as a young child. Paul is Tony as an adult, and Care is Tony as a child. They are literally the same person at different ages, voiced by the same person at different ages. That is not a fan theory, that is a production decision made and confirmed. Whatever the relationship between Paul and Care is meant to be, Tony built it into the series at the level of whose voice is coming out of whose mouth. Which is why the reading of Paul as Care carries the weight it does. They have the same birthday down to the year, the same face, described by Paul himself as a very strong resemblance. The game replaying Paul's conversation with Jill on Care's birthday in episode 14 without distinguishing between them. The girl screen in the school dragging the alternate back no matter how many times it tries to leave. The vase producing a reaction in Paul before he has any language for what the vase is. The trans reading of the series treats Petscop as a document of Paul's own history that the game is showing him from outside. His own suppressed past playing back at him through someone else's machine. The game as a record of what happened to him as a child that he has no conscious access to. The other major reading? Paul is Lena's son. The epilogue frames it this way, Boss waiting for a son, Boss being Lena, the figure on the bench. If Lena survived and eventually had Paul, the Leskowitz surname fits. The room in the child library fits, the game finding its way to him through his mother fits. and Belle was in the back seat smuggled away as a baby. I could not wait to be your friend. It's not necessarily a new friendship, it's more like recognition. Both readings agree on the core thing. Paul was never just a stranger who found something. There's a tension running through the series between the Blood family, Anna and Jill, who run the channel, sense the footage, intimidate Paul into continuing, and the Chosen family, Lena and Belle, who smuggled Paul away, who couldn't wait to meet him. The last word Paul types in the entire series is family. He doesn't type it at Jill, he types it at Belle, walking towards the figure on the bench. The series creator has confirmed one thing about all of this. He values other people's readings of Petscop more than his own original intentions. The story he ended up making is partly made of what the community found in it. He built a Discovery Pages website in full before the first video went up and decided not to release it because it gave too much away. It exists somewhere probably, but nobody's seen it. And then there's the things that we're never going to get answers to. The 5 words on the chalkboard, the number you call when you find the PlayStation running unattended, what Marvin did in the ghost room for 2 minutes, what Raina found when he dug, what happened to Lena between one photograph and the next. These are the things we will never get to know. Tony made them unresolvable on purpose, not because he ran out of answers, he definitely has them, but because the work requires you to feel the shape of what you cannot see, to stand at the edge of it and understand that entering it completely is not something you are permitted to do. That's the full picture, or the closest thing to it anyone outside of Tony has. Every piece of coverage about Petscop ends somewhere in the vicinity of, we'll never fully know what it means. That's true, and it's not accidental. Tony confirmed in the one interview he gave that the story has a complete concrete plot. He scrapped footage that was already done. He left gaps on purpose. He chose incompleteness again and again as a creative decision, not because he ran out of time or energy or ideas. He made the thing unresolvable deliberately. That's not a flaw in the work, that is the work. Raina built Petscop to resist Marvin, to force him through the rooms and faces and evidence of his crimes without giving him anything to grab onto, rationalize, explain away. There's no resolution, no moment of catharsis that lets you feel like it's over. No bottom to the pit. And Tony built Petscop to do the same thing to the audience. You can feel the shape of the loss in it, you can trace the grief, but you cannot close it, you cannot save Mike, you cannot pull Belle back from 17 years, you cannot find Lena before she chose to disappear. You cannot know what the 5 words on the chalkboard said, you can't finish the investigation. What you can do is what Paul's alternate did. Arrive somewhere as the definitively wrong person. Play something that wasn't in the game, that nobody expected, that the system had no answer for, and let the wrongness be the mechanism. Tony Domenico said, I hope to get across a feeling like there's something strange and complex happening in the background and you just aren't getting a full view of it. That was the design brief. Not a mystery to solve, not a puzzle with an answer at the end. A feeling. Specific, particular, produced by specific choices. Of being close to something enormous without being able to see the whole of it. Of standing at the edge of someone else's grief and knowing that entering it completely is not something you are permitted to do. Every sensor box was that feeling, made into a mechanic. Every out-of-order episode was that feeling, made into structure. Every tool answer of I don't know was that feeling, just made into dialogue. The whole series is that feeling, made into 24 episodes and an epilogue hidden at the end of a 45-minute music upload. 8 years, millions of views, more coverage than almost any other piece of internet horror. All of it asking what it means. It means the game was built for Marvin, and Paul found it. We watched Paul find it. And somewhere between the first episode and right now, you became another generation. Another entry in the room impulse log, another guardian with a red pyramid head running through a house that was never meant for you. Moving through the rooms of someone else's grief, learning the shape of it by inhabiting it. And Petscop, built in 1996 for one person, found by the wrong person in 2017, watched by millions of wrong people after that, is still running. Still tracking. Still adding players. Please leave the PlayStation on when you leave. Oh my fucking god. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I think that's the longest video I've made in a long ass time. I don't think I did it justice, but is what it is indeed. I tried to do it as justice as I could, but this series, it hurts my brain, so I probably got some stuff wrong. If I did, make sure to let me down below because I love engagement. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. I do want to continue doing ARG and unfiction like this because it's fun. It's fun to make, and covering games over and over and over again gets a bit bleh after a while. do let me know down below what you'd like to see in the future. I really hope you did enjoy this. Yeah, it's a fucking insane series. I know there's been a lot of coverage on it, and this one was probably not that unique, but I wanted to do my spin on it. Like a lot of the comments in the Dr. Bosch video said, just because someone else has done videos on it doesn't mean you couldn't. If Pyro is never going to make a Petscop 2 or follow me on Twitter, the fucking rat bastard, then I suppose, yeah. And of course, thank you so much to the channel members and the Patreons, that of course being Flapjack, 8th Heretic, Vested Voice, Pewter Hailstorm, Will Provine, Rasulki Ryler, Michael Smith, Idenios, Keothir, Andrew Sherman, Shaddix, Norika, Sign Up King, Sisyphus, Reese Lunn, Ellie Kitty, Aroxano, A Brick Wall, Ash Crowing, Crit Croc, My Horror Project, Proxy EDM, Sign Up King, The Radiant Opera, Bear Paw, Ice Bear Ray, Vibe Cato, and Adrian Lynch. Thank you all so much for the support, and if you'd like your name read at the end like this, then you know what to do. But yeah, more videos coming. Hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.